Welcome to the Gamestorm Magic Podcast. This is Dan Horgan with...
Dan Krapu. How's it going?
Took you a second there.
I thought you were going to say my name. And
No.
You just looked at me weird.
Just looked at you like, yeah, you could say your name. I may know your name, but you know your name better than I do.
That's true.
So anyway, we just got back from Pittsburgh this morning at like 1 a.m., 2 a.m.
Like 3 a.m. for me.
Yeah, because you're like an hour north of me. But, so we didn't make day two, unfortunately. We were one... If we drew one of our rounds, we would have made day two.
Yeah, if we drew instead of lost one of our rounds, we would have
Right.
made day two. It was kind of close. There was probably about 5 people at 6-2-1. 5 teams at 6-2-1.
I think there was 6. Because if...
I think there was 5. I'm pretty sure it was an
there?
odd number.
Okay.
So if there would have been a few less draws as well for those teams, then it would have been really close to pushing 6-3 to be a 24th place. So it would have made a really big day two.
Yeah, it would have been like 80-something players, right? Or 50. It was
Probably
like...
close to about 50 or 60 teams.
Right, yeah, because we were in, 39th, and there was probably like
Yeah, there was
10
there was
or
a
20
handful.
more than behind us. So
Yeah, there was a handful of 6-3 teams behind us still.
Yeah, so I mean, we ended up in 39th. Like, that's not too bad considering there's like, 250-something teams there?
Yeah, I think it was 249.
I mean, so that's like in the top 4th, so...
Yep.
It's pretty up there. So I played Storm...
I was playing Blue Red Phoenix.
And then Adam, our third teammate, was playing Eldrazi Tron.
Mm-hmm.
So what did your record end up being like for just you?
I think so. We played 8 rounds.
No, we played all 9.
Or 9. Sorry, 9 rounds. I believe I was 5-4 in those 9 rounds.
Okay.
Granted, I didn't finish. I believe 3 of my matches. So, but those one of them was against Affinity or Modular Affinity, and that one I had basically rolled up. He had no hand, and I had a flip thing on the ice. So that one was going to be a win, and then the other one was against a Devoted Druid deck, I believe, and that one was kind of the same thing. He had no hand, no board, and I had like Surgical as Devoted Druids. And so that one was going to be a win, and then you guys happened to win first.
Right.
So there's a few matches I didn't finish, but I think it was like 5-4 basically at the end.
Yeah, and then Adam was 6-3, and
Yep.
then I ended up 7-2.
Yep.
So my 2 losses were to Burn and Devoted Druid combo. Burn was just like, we put him on, hopefully you don't have exactly Boros Charm, and I'm at 4.
Yep.
He had exactly Boros Charm. Yeah, that was rough.
Yeah, I think the line that turn was still right, just percentage-wise.
Percentage-wise, yes, but like,
Yeah.
if we took the chance of you have Boros Charm in hand, and we would have won that round.
Yeah, but if he had any of the other 1-mana burn spells,
Exactly,
though,
we
if
didn't
you take
die.
it, because part of the problem is if you take the damage, it turns on Skewer, too, as a 1-mana burn spell.
Yeah, he only had 1 card in hand and no way to
Yep.
draw a second card. So,
Yep.
so like there was like 2 different lines we could have taken there. So I had the turn prior, I had Force Negation in hand and I had Unsubstantiate, and I was tapped out. I was at 4 life. I had 11 goblins out. He was at 21 because he had played Lightning Helix the turn prior. So the line was like, what we ended up doing was we ended up playing Force Negation, pitching a Baral to counter the Skewer the Critics that he was trying to play to put me to 1. And then so he forced that, and then I untap, I swing for 11, which that was, I think, the first mistake we made, was I should have only swung for 10, because then the 11 the next turn is a crackback to kill him.
Yep.
Especially because he played fetch that turn and then didn't fetch. And then we passed, I swung all 11, so he's at 10, we pass, he plays Goblin Guide, we get the Goblin Guide trigger. In response to the trigger, I unsubstantiate the Goblin Guide, so his only out here is exactly fetch into shock because he needed a white source. No, he didn't need a white source. Fetch into land to play Boros Charm. That's his only out to kill me that turn, and that's what just happened to be what he had in hand.
Yeah, like he could have also potentially had a like a Searing Blood or a Searing Blaze to potentially live 1 more turn. I think if he was at 10, or
no,
actually probably not, 'cause he would have been at 10.
Right,
So yeah, he would have just been
at,
dead and needed to
he was
fetch.
at 10, so like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so the only out there was from that Boros Charm.
And he had it. And
Yeah.
I was then at that point I didn't have an extra counter spell. If I had a remand also, like we would have been fine, but it didn't, which was unfortunate. And then my other loss was Devoted Druid combo, where both games I had like 10 turns to just like draw a Gifts Ungiven to win. Like I had like 2 reducers or 1 reducer out, and like if I just draw a Gifts Ungiven, and like I got to the point where I was just burning Morphoses to like just hopefully draw it.
Yeah, but didn't he have Shalai out both games too?
He didn't have Shalai out game 2 until turn 10.
Okay.
And then game 1 he had it out, but I had Grape Shot Bolt in hand.
Okay.
So I had the answer to kill it and then gifts afterwards.
Okay. Yeah, because
but
for those of you guys who don't know, you can't Gifts Ungiven with a Shalai out or while your opponent is hexproof, because you actually target your opponent with Gifts Ungiven.
Right. Yeah. I never like thought about it, and then it came up like outside. Someone was talking about it, and I'm like, yeah, like I never actually read that part of like Gifts Ungiven to like actually realize that it targets your opponent.
Yep.
And so yeah, I had the answer for the Shalai game 1. But like I wasn't gonna kill it until I had the Gifts Ungiven, and I knew I was gonna be able to go off, because otherwise he could just Eldamary's Call and then go grab another one from his deck or something like that. So like there was just no point to like try to kill it unless he was like gonna combo off.
Sure.
Because then I don't want him to make infinite counters.
Yep.
And then you have to find Finale.
Yep.
And then game 2 I had like 10 turns, and then he finally had Eldamary's Call, and they have another search spell in their deck.
They have Court of Calling as well. Normally it's just Court of Calling, Collected Company, and Eldamary's Call.
Okay, so
those are the 3 usually.
So yeah, he played Chord for X's4 to get
The Shalai.
the Shalai, and then the next turn he played Eldamary's Call to go get Vizier, and I was just dead to that. But like he gave me he played Devoted Druid on like turn 2,
Yep.
and then just was like sitting there playing land and playing like nobles, like
Yep.
just playing like 1-drops and stuff for a few turns. Like it was 10 turns of let's just please let me draw a gifts. Never saw it. So and then Adam lost that round, or did you lost that round because that was against Mono Red Phoenix?
Yeah, I played against Mono Red Phoenix that round, and that one that's a pretty bad matchup for Blue Red Phoenix.
Right,
yeah.
that's kind of the reason that whole Mono Red Phoenix deck came around anyway.
Yep. So Mono Red Phoenix, I lost to. I also played against Blue White, which is also probably the worst matchup for Phoenix. Blue White, I lost against Eldrazi Tron as well. And what was the last one? Also the Hogak deck as well.
Okay, yeah, that's right. You guys both lost to Hogak once, I think. Or no, Adam lost twice.
Adam lost once to Hogak.
Once, and then he beat the other 2.
Yeah, and then I played against Hogak once, and I ended up mulliganing to 5. I probably should have kept my 7 that I had. I just didn't really have anything to do. It was a lot of cantrips.
Was
and a
it
bolt?
That was our second loss, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because Adam lost to. That was the time Adam lost. What did he lose to that round? Do you know? Because
I'm not sure.
that was the one where I beat humans, right?
No,
it was round 3. What did I play against round 3?
No, it was later than that, because we were 2-1 at the start. I think it was round 4.
Okay, yeah. No, we started out 1-2.
Did we?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember we didn't have the chance to play against Luke's team till round 5. Like we didn't have like any we probably wouldn't hit them unless we got paired up somehow.
Okay.
For round 4.
Sure.
And it sucked because if we did get paired, it was if we get paired up and we get paired against them, like they're X1 and we're X2, so that would suck.
Yeah.
It's I was just throwing the scenario in my head, and I'm like, I don't want this. I forget what I played against that round. Because we lost round 1, won round 2. That was the humans matchup. That was round 2. And then I don't know what I played against round 3.
That was when I played against Hogak. I played against Hogak. What was their Mill C play run? Because they ended up actually making top 8, so I can actually look this up.
Did they?
Yeah, they ended up top 8ing the tournament. I believe it was the second team we lost to.
Huh. That's interesting.
That was the Hogak team. Or we look. Yeah, that was the Hogak team, right?
What, 2 Hogak players? Or no?
No, the one where I played Hogak.
I think that was the one where you played Hogak, because I remember that was the 7 where if you had No, where you should have kept 6.
No, I should have kept the 7. The 6 was a no-lander.
That's right. The
Or a
six,
5-lander.
the 7 was like, what, 2 lands? Like
It was 2 lands, a Spell Pierce, a couple cantrips, and a Bolt, I believe.
I thought you had a looting in there.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
it was a looting. It was like a looting and a Serum Visions or
Yeah.
Thought Scour or something. It was like 3 cantrips, looting being one of them. And
Right,
a Spell
and-
Pierce and a Bolt. I
And
believe.
that was when I was just finishing up my game, so I didn't even know, like, Adam was sitting next to you.
Yeah. Adam told me to go ahead and throw it back for another 6 because I didn't have any graveyard hate, which I probably should
that's
have kept.
that's when Adam played Infect. Adam played
Oh,
against
yeah.
Infect because that was the game where he turned to me, and I was in the middle of like doing the math to combo off, and Adam.
I think that is when you were playing humans. Actually, that was your humans matchup that you won.
Okay, yeah. So first off, I beat humans.
Yeah.
With Storm, which is like, up until that point, I had like a 100% loss rate against humans. Like, it's the first time since I've played Storm in my life, like, I've ever beat humans. So I was, like,
Yep.
super stoked about that. Adam played Infect, and I kind of blame myself for his loss there, because he turned to me and asked me whether to play his, the
Chalice.
+3 plus -3 or the Chalice, but
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
see his Chalice. He like held them out, and I could only see the one card from me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, you just killed a Glistener Elf, and I didn't realize he had Chalice in hand because I was in the middle of doing my math to win my game. Because it was game 1, and I was doing my math to figure out how many goblins I had to make.
Yep.
And yeah, I'd still blame that one on me.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to say because like most likely if he plays Chalice on that turn 2, he probably gets there. But
Right.
it's hard to say because if his opponent just like has become immense, then it just doesn't
Right,
matter.
and I mean, his opponent had his turn 1 was Pendlehaven into Glistener Elf, so like at the very most he's doing at the very least he's doing 2 a turn with his Glistener Elf.
Yep.
And then the next turn he played fetch, shock into Breeding Pool, play Blighted Agent. Adam had a second
Spatial Contortion.
Spatial Contortion to kill it. Or no, he
Or
killed it with a
Dismember,
Walking Ballista. He
or
killed it with a
Walking
Walking
Ballista,
Ballista. And then passed turn, and then he played a Inkmoth Nexus. And that's where he should have played the Chalice. And at that point, I don't know what he did.
Mm-hmm.
He could have played the Chalice on his turn 2, or on his turn 3 after he killed the Blighted Agent.
Yep.
And at that point, I don't know what he was doing because I was boarding for game 2 of my
Yep.
matchup. And then, what else did Adam lose to? He lost to Hogak once. He lost to
He lost to
Infect.
Infect.
And then did he lose to Humans? Is that the one he lost to?
That might have been. I'm not sure. I don't remember. I don't remember the other one that he lost to.
Yeah, I wasn't paying too much attention. I was focused on, like, I need to win my matches.
Yep.
And, like, just one of you two guys have to win. That's all we
Yeah.
got to do here.
That's a tough Storm too. Which like thinking back, I probably should have put myself in the middle seat for it because like playing Storm, like there's times where like you just can't like pay attention to what else is going on because you're doing
Right.
so much math. With Phoenix, there's not really any time that's happening.
Well, so the thing was that the reason why we put me in the middle seat is because we thought my games were going to be done really fast because we thought I was going to play against a lot of Hogak, which I
Sure.
ended up playing it twice out of the 9 rounds,
Yeah.
and I beat both of them. I played Sam Party in round 9. I beat him in 3, and then the other Hogak player I beat him in 2. But like the whole point was if I play against Hogak, I have to win turn 3 or I lose. So like we put me there because if we were assuming that like I was gonna play Hogak like 4 or 5 times in the tournament, that I would be done in like 6 turns total, or 9 turns total if we go to game 3, and then I would be able to help both of you because your games go like the longest.
Yeah,
With Phoenix.
definitely out of the
Right.
3 decks they probably do.
So, but my games with the potential of me playing Hogak a bunch were gonna be like 9 turns total,
Yeah.
and then be done.
Yeah, the thing that's tough is that there's like, at least like with Phoenix, like I can always like look over and see what's going on in the middle of my games. So
Right.
there's never any like really crucial like time where I'm doing a lot of math or like trying to figure things out. Like for me, it's like it's pretty straightforward what I'm doing. Every turn, obviously, there's some thinking involved, but it's somewhere like one decision a turn
Right.
rather than multiple decisions with something like Storm.
Yeah. I don't really think it ended up affecting us too much.
No.
Me being in the middle seat with playing Storm kind of helps because I'm able to ask both of you questions.
Yep.
Like there was that time where I played against Affinity, and Adam was able to help a lot with that matchup because he's played that deck a bunch.
Yeah.
So like with Adam there being able to help, it was like that's probably the reason why I ended up winning that game.
Yeah.
Is because I haven't played against Affinity in like a year and a half, maybe 2.
Yep.
So like I was just like I don't remember any of these cards, and I don't remember how they're trying to kill me either.
Yeah.
I was like, are they on like gear per Aether Grid like Cheerios is, or like
No.
what? Like yeah.
No, they normally just suit something up with the
Basilisk Collar.
No. The thing is +X for each artifact you control.
It's not collar.
No. It's
It's pay 2
cranial plating.
Cranial plating. Pay 2 black and put it on.
Well, you can pay 2 black and attach it at instant speed,
Yeah,
or
that's
it's just
what-
one and equip it.
Yeah, there was like one time where that was actually relevant, and I forgot that it had the instant speed thing, and I was like, wait, and I like looked down, I'm like, oh yeah, that's that card.
Yep.
Like it was relevant like to an extent because he got to gain 2 life.
Yep.
Rather than just gain 1.
Yep.
But we ended up getting that match on. I had to grape shot his Arcbound Ravager for 5 because he could make it a 5/5. And then we got there on just making a bunch of goblins.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird one.
Because he played Rip in his deck.
Which is actually, I think, is just strictly wrong. Just because it turns off all the modular stuff. Like, Rip is something that's brought in against them. So I think that if he was going to play something, I think he needed to play Leylines in his deck. I mean, Affinity, like, it doesn't mulligan super well, but it can definitely mulligan all right. And, like, Leyline, I think, is much better. It's even castable in his deck because he has so many 5-color sources. But that's kind of another topic for another day.
Right. I do want to talk about our round 9 because that was interesting. So we played against Sam Party's team. What's the girl you played's name?
Jessica something. She's the new. She's actually the new MPL member from Australia.
Right. And I played against Sam, and then I forget who Adam played against. I don't know. She's from Canada. That's all I know. I don't know if it's Sam's girlfriend or who she is, but so you beat the Phoenix Mirror, the blue-red Phoenix Mirror against the MPL player.
Jessica Estefan.
Okay. So you beat the Phoenix Mirror.
Yep.
And then I won game 1 on turn 3. On the draw against Sam, which was really weird because like I gave him 2 opportunities. I gave him an opportunity after slamming Brawl on turn 2 to win on his turn 3.
Did he have an altar out?
He didn't hit the altar.
Yeah. So that's the thing with Hogak is that if they don't hit altar, and obviously it's still a very strong deck because they're randomly in Hogak on like turn 2 or turn 3 basically, and then like potentially bring like Vengevines, and they can still kill you on turn 3 or turn 4 with just a massive board state. But altar makes it so they can actually just do it without combat.
Yeah, and then game 2, he was able to just turn 3 me with the altar, and he showed me the altar, showed me double bridge. I didn't have a trap or a surgical in hand, so I'm just like, I'm gonna concede here. I know what you're doing. I know how your deck works.
Yeah.
And it's Sam Party. He's not gonna screw up, and I'm not gonna waste my time because I know game 3 can go very long, especially with me boarding out my altar Arias at that point. Because like game 2, I was like, if he plays Leyline, hits it at the beginning, I can't combo off.
Yeah.
Like on turn 3. At least with Altar or with Arya, I can slam it on turn 2 and then combo off on turn 3 with it. But that's just because I wanted to do that because I was on the draw. On the play, I have a much better chance of going off, even through a Leyline.
Yep.
So game 3 came down to the fact that Sam didn't hit his Bloodghast trigger on turn 2.
Yeah, he just forgot the trigger
Part
of the thing was he flipped
Twice.
it. Yeah, it's part of the thing was he flipped it off of a Stitcher supplier,
On turn
so it
1,
was something that he didn't put it in his graveyard on purpose. So I think that was part of the reason why he missed it.
Right, and then he missed it off of he missed it off the turn 2 on the turn 2 play land. I think he played like Basic Swamp or something, and then he missed it again the next turn playing a fetch land, and then he popped his fetch land at my end step and brought it back because he remembered it then, but he punted twice on it. And he was really upset about that afterwards. And I get it. Like, he would have won the game had he had that because he would have been able to slam Hogak on turn 3. Even without an altar out, he still was able to just get there against me with combat damage.
Yep. Do you know if Adam ended up winning his match in that one or no?
He did.
Yeah, so
He
it
played
ended
a
up.
mirror.
Yeah, I know he played the mirror. He tried casting a spell through
After
a Karn lattice
lattice.
on the opponent's side.
Yeah.
And we told him just to scoop it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was brutal. That was game 1.
Yeah.
Don't die over there.
Try not to. Try not to.
So that was a brutal game 1. I think he ended up getting game 2 and 3 against her. I do want to talk about Tom's game. You weren't there for it. So Tom played on the team with Luke and Josh.
Yep.
And Tom was playing against Blue Red Phoenix. And they had 5 minutes left in round or something like
what
that.
deck was Tom playing?
Amulet Titan?
Yep.
Okay, so he plays a Simic Simic Growth Chamber, is that what it is?
Yeah, that's the bounce land, the
Okay.
blue bounce land.
So he plays Simic Growth Chamber off of Prime Time and I think he gets Simic Growth Chamber in either Vesuva or
Teleria West, maybe?
no, he had Teleria West out already.
Okay.
He ended up bouncing it with the Simic Growth Chamber.
Sure.
So it whatever the other card he got didn't actually matter at the time. So he bounced the
Teleria West.
He transmuted for it to go get
Summoner's Pact.
Summoner's Pact, and then passed turn, and then he untapped, and he had a Lattice in his hand, and he drew a Rex Sage.
Sure.
So he played Lattice, and then cast Rex Sage to kill a flip thing in the ice.
Yeah.
So that's a really interesting interaction because Lattice turns everything into artifacts, and then you can kill it with Rex Sage, and then he tried to cast Summoner's Pact. So he cast Summoner's Pact because it resolved, and he goes to search his deck for a prime time. He can't, though, because Lattice also has the text of cards not in play are also colorless artifacts.
Yep. And Summoner's Pact can only search for a green creature.
Green creature. So he goes to do it, and then the judge goes, "Stop! You can't grab it." And then both teams were just like, "Wait, what? Why?" It wasn't actually the judge. It was someone standing by who said it to the judge, and then the judge was like, "Oh yeah, that's a thing." Like the judge was not doing his job.
Yeah.
And so he passes turn. The dude attacks for so now they're in turns at this point.
Yep.
And all that Tom needs to do is rip a Karn off the top because he has the double strike land.
Yep. It's not Slayer Stronghold. It's the other one.
The other one. I don't remember the name.
Yep.
He has the double strike land, and he has all the lands to pay into it. All he has to do is rip Karn plus Karn, target Lattice, make it a 6/6, give it double strike, and kill his opponent.
Yep.
Never finds it. His opponent at the very last turn puts him to 1, and then goes Alpine Moon, naming like Prime Time or something like that.
No, he named Slayer Stronghold,
Oh,
so
yeah,
he
that's
couldn't
right.
give a Primeval Titan haste.
Right, but it didn't matter because it was turn 5, and then he's like, "Do you want to concede to us?" And he's like, "Why?" He's like, "Because we have you dead here." It's like, "Yeah, but if I draw a Karn, you're dead." And he's like, "How?" And I'm like, "You're at 5. This becomes a 6/6."
Yeah.
So like they ended up just like trying to convince him to like concede to them, and then they both just took the draw.
Yeah, that's usually how it happens.
Yeah, like there's no reason to concede at that point. You're both X2-1 or whatever at that point.
Yeah.
Like you'd rather be X2-1 than X3 because X2-1 still made day 2.
Yep.
But so like let's talk about the day 2 decks a little bit. So what was it, like 33% of the field was Hogak?
I believe it was a 33% conversion rate for Hogak, meaning of all the day 1 decks, 33. Or actually, that might have been I think that was for Dallas, actually. I'm not sure about the team events, because the team events get weird with like how, like just what decks people are playing. There was, I believe they said there was no triple Hogak teams.
There was no triple Hogak teams. There was a few triple Phoenix teams.
Yeah, there was like 2 or 3 triple Phoenix teams.
So I do know that in the top 4 or top 8, there was 4 Hogak decks. And you got to think about this. So
I thought it was 8. Or was there 8 Phoenix decks?
There's 8 Phoenix decks.
Okay.
But that's because I think there was a double Phoenix Hogak deck or something like that.
There was one team that was triple Phoenix, so that kind of skewed it in the top 8. Yep.
So out of 24 people essentially in the top 8, there was 4 Hogak decks, like 8 Phoenix decks, like a few humans players. I think there was like 2 control players.
Yep.
And then a bunch of like other decks that it's like whatever. It's a team tournament, so like like that's the hard part about a team tournament is like it's gonna be so skewed because you're always gonna have that one random person like on a team that just like is playing some random jank deck.
Well, there's a lot of times where like there's players that they're used to just playing standard, or they're used to just playing legacy or something, and they say, hey, they're gonna be on a team with somebody else, and they say, well, I always play humans in modern or whatever, so that's what they grab. And so the other two teamers might have a lot more reps with Hogak or Phoenix, and they might just default to their normal deck.
Yeah. So, and then I want to talk about the Classic a little bit because I played in the Modern Classic. Adam also did, but he went like 0-3 drop.
Yep.
So I started out 3-0, and then I dropped 4 in a row. Out of the 4 in a row that I played 3 Hogak decks.
All with turn 0 ley line.
Yes, game 1.
Yeah.
All 3 of them played turn 0 ley line game 1, and I'm like, what is this? How is this possible? So, like, the likelihood of them playing 2 main deck ley lines and then finding them in their opening, because none of them mulliganed. Them finding them in their opening 7, 3 rounds in a row, 3 different opponents, is like pretty small.
Yeah,
like,
it's pretty low.
It's a pretty low percentage, and they both found it, and then one of them found it all 3 games, turn 1 without mulliganing.
Well,
obviously, game
they
2
also
and 3,
bring
bring in 2 more, so it's more likely. But still, to find it all 3 games against me, it's kind of, it's not like super like unlikely, but it's still pretty unlikely. So that was brutal. I also lost to a Phoenix player after absolutely seeing nothing. Like just cast cantrip, see more cantrips, and you're just like, cool. I'm just gonna cast cantrips for the first 3 turns, and it's like, you already have a flip thing in the ice. What am I gonna do now?
And I think Phoenix is kind of a tough matchup for Storm, at least it can be. Just because they have a lot of interaction as far as like they can kill a lot of your reducers, and then they also have Surgical's main deck. They have like 2 or 3 Surgical's main deck, and they also post-board have obviously Ravenous Traps and things like Narset that really shut down a lot of what you're trying to do. Right.
None of them played Narset against me. I played against 2. I played against 2 in the Classic. I beat 1 and I lost the other after seeing all cantrips. It ended up being the girl. She was on a team with another girl that I faced in Cincinnati last year. Or maybe it was Columbus. It was Columbus because it was with Greg and Mike. And so I beat them the same way in game 3. I forced them to flip their thing in the ice and then emptied. And then she was standing behind there, and I saw her, and she was there when I did it.
Oh, God.
And I was like, and then she like was talking to her afterwards. She's like, hey, did the same thing against me at like another tournament. And I'm like, yeah, I did. I'm like, I forced you to flip your thing so I could play an empty, and you didn't have a thing to bounce them.
Empty tends to be like pretty bad in the matchup, and normally like at least like you only keep like 1 in just as like the alternate kind of win con.
You keep it in case they get surgical.
Or your grape shot gets surgical. Because like obviously thing in the ice in the deck, and they can on like turn 4 they could play thing in the ice and flip it in the same turn.
I obviously. The thing was, I knew she had 2 in her graveyard because I had killed 2 of them. Well, actually, I killed 1 and then she discarded the other. To a Faithless Looting because she didn't want to discard the 2 cantrips she drew off of it. So she discarded land thing. I killed the first thing with a bolt and a grape shot because I needed my Baral to resolve and stay because I had a Gifts Ungiven in hand. And then she played the 3rd one like on turn 4 or something like that, and like didn't have a lot of cards in hand. So she played like cantrip, like Faithless Looting, and didn't hit a Phoenix. And so then like I was just like, what do you like? You didn't hit Phoenix on that, and you discarded like 2 lands. Like you either have lands in your hand or you have like counter spells. So I just put her on. I put her on the fact that like she had counter spells, and I cast a Gifts Ungiven at the end step, literally knowing I didn't need to cast it because I had everything in my hand to use the empty. Because she had already surgical the grape shot, so like I was in the point where I had to use empty to win, and so she already surgical grape shot, and I was like, I don't need anything from my deck here because I have like a bunch of rituals, some Morphos, and empty. So I'm just like, let's just get her to flip her thing, hopefully. And so she counters the gifts, and then I untap, and I'm able to make like 15 dudes or something like that. She ends up bolting my Baral afterwards, like on her turn because she drew bolt. So she bolts the Baral, so I can't like do anything else. other than just attack with goblins, and she's
Yep.
just like digging for another thing.
Mm-hmm.
Never finds it, and I win.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. Once she's surgical grape shot, I don't know if there's any reason to counter anything to put the thing in the ice, which seems kind of odd to me that she would do that.
She saw that I had Aria Flame.
Well, sure, but I mean, she can counter the Aria or something coming afterwards, because like Aria is what matters, and if you're gifting for it, you can just put Aria in the graveyard.
So like the whole thing is the fact that I tapped out to play the gifts.
Yeah, and she have a spell pierce. Is that what it was? That she
Yeah.
was? Sure. I mean, I guess it probably depends on how many lands you have, but like I think like obviously once you surgical grape shot, the only win cons left in the deck are just Aria or Empty, and I'd rather not be like punked out by losing to Empty when I have a thing in the ice that's ready to flip.
I had 4 lands, but my Baral got bounced.
Yep.
I didn't replay my Baral because I knew the thing in the ice was going to flip. There's no reason to replay it. So I just like was able to gifts with 4 lands out.
Sure.
And then she countered that with the spell pierce, and then was tapped out. So I was able to untap and just play a bunch of dudes. I agree. Like I think it was a misplay for her to counter it. Same thing with like the girl, like when I played her teammate before, where she countered a Manamorphose, and I got into a counter war over it. So like she goes dispel your Morphos, I go dispel your dispel. She goes Snapcaster dispel your Morphos, and I'm like, cool, flip your thing.
Yeah.
Like it's not something you need to fight over there.
No.
Not at all.
Against Phoenix, it's something that's worth countering, but against
Right.
Storm, I think Morphos is probably like the least worth countering. Usually, there's times where like when you're tapping out for it or something, and you have no mana left. Of course, you can counter it, but that's like the first spell they're playing. It's like sure, like you just let that one go.
Yeah, when I tap 1 mana to play it, like you don't need to do it. You don't need to bounce it.
Yep.
And then so like just day 2 was just like main deck Hogak ley lines, which was rough. Or like so.
Which kind of leads us into the last thing we were talking about, is kind of the banning list and what's going on. And I think that there has to be something banned out of Hogak. I think part of the problem with it is like we already saw in the Classic how skewed the like deck building gets because of it. Like, there are people main decking 2 ley lines
just for the mirror,
just to hit out the mirror, and that's the main thing they're hitting out. And the thing that I think is hard is when you look at like the top 8 of the Classic. I think there was only 1, maybe 2 Hogak decks there, and so you look at it and go, oh, well, it's not real oppressive, oh, it's not that great. But
that's because they all hated each other.
Well, the problem is they get really hated out. Like the Jund deck that our friend James from up here was playing was running 2 main deck Plague Engineers just for that matchup. You put Plague Engineer on Vampire or both of them on Zombies, and they can't really do anything. The Hogak decks were playing main deck ley lines. There were multiple decks playing, multiple Nile spell bombs and surgicals main deck. So there was so much graveyard hate in the main deck of people's decks just because of that. That I think it's skewing the metagame or skewing the results a lot.
Yeah.
Because people are expecting it and they're coming prepared, which I don't think is actually a good thing. I think obviously it's nice that Modern has answers, so it can survive for 2 weeks while Hogak is legal and like the entire deck is as it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think that it skews it so much when people are main decking like 5 to 6 cards just to deal with Hogak, whether it's like 2 or 3 surgicals and like 3 spell bombs and control decks, or
so
like ley lines and such, or Plague Engineers.
Right. So like I even play 1 main deck surgical, even though I have a very good matchup against them, as long as they don't have main deck ley line on turn 0, right? Because like the whole reason why we picked Storm for me to play over Mono Red Phoenix this weekend is because I just turn 3 them like 90% of the time, and if I don't turn 3 them, I lose. But like I'm pretty good at turn 3ing them because they don't have an answer to Brawl.
Yeah, that's the thing is like Hogak doesn't have any interaction main deck.
Exactly.
There's the couple flex spots. Usually, like the most they'll run as removal is just Dark Blast main deck.
Yeah.
They don't run any kind of like actual removal spells,
which does not kill Brawl.
Yeah, which does not kill either reducer.
Right. If they can double it, it kills one of them.
Yeah, they could do it in upkeep and then dredge it and then do it again on the Goblin, but like that's a pretty bad turn for them.
Exactly. Yeah. Like if that's their turn 2, I'm fine with that because that still buys me a turn. But like I didn't need to play main deck removal for main deck graveyard hate for them, other than the 1 surgical. But that was more for the Phoenix matchup because Phoenix gets really grindy, and being able to surgical their Phoenix or being able to surgical my grape shot in response to their surgicals, so that way they don't get both of them, is more important. In my main, because otherwise I just lose game 1, and I'm favored game 1 against Phoenix. I think, like slightly, not like a ton, but the surgical helps me be favored a little bit more.
I don't know. I think that Blue Red Phoenix is probably favored just because of the amount of the amount of ways they have to kill your reducers. That it can be really hard for you to get going early enough. Obviously, they need to have a relatively quick clock. They can't let the game go long. So they need to play a thing in the ice turn 2, and then have the plan of killing your reducer and flipping it, and then trying to kill you by turn 5 or 6. If they can do that, then usually they're going to win that game. If they're sitting there spinning their wheels, you spin your wheels better, and then you just kill them in one turn, and they don't have any kind of counter spells to deal with what you're doing.
Exactly. That's the hard part about it, is trying to figure out exactly how much I need to spin my wheels and how much I need to just sit back and wait.
Yep.
Until they start spinning their wheels, because if I start waiting till they spin their wheels, and I do it in the right way, I just get to play a brawl and win in the same turn.
Yep.
But if I wait until they spin their wheels and then they hit the nuts, I just lose. So it's a real game of being patient while also knowing exactly when to go forward with it. You know.
And Arya on both sides makes it kind of interesting because most your Storm deck I believe wasn't running any actual bounce spells main deck,
right?
But when most Storm decks are running one Echoing Truth or something like that or Repeal, Arya makes it interesting because if they play Arya and you're able to bounce it, then you just gain 10 life off of it and it sets their clock back a lot.
Yeah, I can play a bounce spell, but mainly game 1 I'm just trying to be quicker.
Sure.
Game 2 and 3, I board into them almost every time because that's when it's going to get more grindy. And I know that most Phoenix players are not going to bring out Arya because they're bad.
Yeah, they should take out Arya in that matchup. Arya's I think really bad in any of those kind of matchups that can deal with it. I think it's even bad against humans because they have detention, the detention mage or whatever. That can deal with it, deputy detention and things like that. It's just bad in the matchups where people have clean answers to it.
So I think it's bad against me, not just because I have answers to it sideboard, but also because it buys me time. And against Phoenix main deck, I don't have a lot of time.
Yep.
Because they have a very quick clock that hits very hard, and so I have to go off really quickly against them. But if they just let me gain 10 life and then I have the bounce to it, it buys me 2 turns time.
Yep.
And that's huge.
Yeah, it basically turns in any bounce spell into a time walk, pretty much.
Exactly,
when you get rid of it.
Especially if they try to play it again and then I am gaining 20.
Yeah, that's kind of a beating.
Yeah. That's cool. I bought myself 2 turns now, or 3 turns at that point. And then I think Hogak, I don't know what they're going to ban though.
For me, I think it's not going to be any of the new cards. I've said this for a while that I don't think they're going to ban a card that they just printed. I think it's just bad business for them because they're willing to ban let's say Alter Dementia, which I think probably is actually the most deserving card to get banned. I agree. But if let's say they ban Alter of Dementia, well, that means that they're willing to ban a card after 2 weeks or 3 weeks of the set being printed, which hurts new sales for them because people are going to say, well, if they're willing to ban that, what about Arya Flame? Arya Flame's really good. And other cards like that, people are worried about that, so they're not going to buy as much product, potentially.
Right.
So I think the card most likely to get with the ban is Bridge from Below because it's the other piece that kind of enables the entire deck. The problem is that Bridge from Below literally will kill the entire deck pretty much because it's not able to function without Bridge in its current form.
Yeah, you won't be able to play the old version of of Dredgevine without Bridge. So realistically, I think they need to ban Alter but I don't know if they're going to.
Well, they need to ban either Alter, Hogak, or Bridge. One of those 3, and I think the most likely candidate there is going to be Bridge.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I think the card they actually need to ban is Alter because I don't think you want to completely kill off the Vengevine deck.
Well, the thing is, there was never really Vengevine wasn't even a deck; it just turned into Dredge. All the bigger decks,
it was Dredgevine.
All of the it wasn't even Dredgevine though. It wasn't even a thing ever since about 5-6 months ago.
Andrew's been playing it forever.
Yeah, not well apparently.
he did help build that deck though online.
Yeah, so Dredgevine, I mean, obviously, like, it was like 4 Pro Tours ago now or something, was really big, like, the Modern Pro Tour, like, last fall. But ever since, like, Creeping Chill got printed, basically,
Yeah, it's just been Dredge.
it's just Dredge. Dredge is the graveyard deck. There's too much, like, miscellaneous graveyard hate from
Yeah.
Phoenix and Dredge from being big that you just can't play Dredgevine. It's just too slow, and it's not nearly as resilient
Yeah.
as either Phoenix or Dredge. So if you're going to play a graveyard-based deck, they all
Yeah.
just went to Dredge.
I really need them to ban a card out of Hogak, so I
you're
can
not
continue to play
main decking
Storm.
ley lines, yeah.
So I can continue to play
Yeah.
Storm. Like, I'm okay with people main decking Surgicals. Surgical does not hurt me as much as Leyline does.
Yep.
Because even without it, like, even if they can Surgical Grape Shot, like, I could still pass in Flames and go off with a empty. Like, but if they're able to Surgical, like, if they just, like, literally just go Leyline turn 1, then I'm like, cool, I have 3 dead cards in my deck now. 4 dead cards, because, well, if they play Leyline, I have 3 dead cards, because I could still target them with Surgical.
Sure.
I guess I could target them with Noxious Revival as well, which I did a lot against Hogak. When they would, like, turn 1, or turn 0 Leyline, they would go, like, cast Gravecrawler, cast Carrion Feeder turn 2, and they go Vengevine Trigger, I go Response. Noxious it back to the top.
Yep.
Because then, like, if you don't have a way to put it back in your graveyard, I'm saving myself 8 or 6 damage. And at the very
6.
least,
Right.
well, 6 because I'm not taking the
'cause of the
4
2
that turn,
turns.
and then I'm not
Sure.
taking the 4 the next turn.
Sure. You're paying the 2 for the Noxious.
Right, so I'm saving myself 6 by paying 2. At the very least, I'm saving myself 2 life.
Yep.
And so, like, I played against a guy who also played Storm a lot prior to playing the Hogak deck. And so, like, he knew exactly what not to give me, which was a problem, because there was one gifts pile that I had where if he gave me either of the 2 cards that he put into the yard, I won.
Yep.
But I knew by the fact that he had a stack of Caleb Shearer tokens that he was a Storm player. So I just went for the shot of, like, hopefully you think my hand's different than what it is, and then you give me a different card because you think my hand's different.
Sure.
But he got it right. Like,
Yep.
and it's a guessing game at a certain point. But like that's the hard part about playing Storm is when you play against someone who knows how to play Storm well as well. It's hard to beat them.
Yeah, it's like playing the Storm Mirror is rough if you're playing against somebody who, like, understands how to play their deck.
Exactly. Like, if you play the Storm Mirror where, like, one of the players has only been playing for a little bit, it's whatever.
They get run over because there's a lot of times where, like, Storm has, like, so much, like, permission in some sense in their deck between, like, the multiple remand and substantiates and stuff that, like, you have to know how to play around that. That way you don't just, like, get blown out when your reducer gets bounced or bolted.
Exactly.
And then they just untap and kill you.
Yeah. I've thankfully never played the Storm Mirror.
No?
Although
I'll have to put it together so I can play against you.
Although there is one of the kids at the store built Storm.
Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
And if I can ever get a Friday night where I get to play Modern, I kind of want to play the Mirror.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Especially, like, just because I want to, like really prove that it matters how well you play Storm to, like, actually beat the Mirror. As opposed to, like, me and you both know how to play the Storm deck fairly well. You've seen me play it a million times. I've played it a million times against you.
Yep.
So you know all my lines, and, like, I would probably know all of your lines, like, for the most part.
Maybe not.
I mean, like, we play the same deck.
I'll grab strange gift piles just to screw with you. I'll just grab like 3 cantrips and a grape shot every time.
Speaking of that, I played against Hogak and I had the best gifts pile ever.
I saw some weird ones when I was watching you play, sitting over, like, just looking over your shoulder.
Yeah.
I saw some kind of odd piles there when you had a ley line out game 1 and you, like, grabbed like these strange cards.
We have to. Because you have to grab strange cards that they're like, why is he grabbing these?
Yep.
And so I grabbed a pile of Echoing Truth, a Wipe Away, a Manamorphose, and a Pyretic Ritual, because I wanted to leave the Desperates in case I could get 2 so I could splice them.
Yep.
And he gave me the Morphos and the Pyretic instead of giving me the 2 bounce spells, which that's what I was trying to get him to do.
So the nice thing about, like, when they have Leyline out is you can force 2 cards in your hand. Like, you can just make gifts, like, basically just, like, double tutor. Because if you grab 2 bounce spells, like any 2, it doesn't matter what they are, and put them in your pile, they're giving you the other 2 cards. Like
Yep.
it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Like you're basically guaranteed, as long as you're not like out of mana on your turn. If you're like doing it on their turn and you do that, you're guaranteed to draw those 2 cards that you're wanting.
Right.
So you can always like force a reducer in your hand. Even like that's like the one time you could actually like go for a reducer.
Yeah.
Is you could just be like, I'll put a Baral and a Morphos in my hand.
Yep.
And then these 2 bounce spells are going to be going to exile right now.
Yep.
Or they just give you the bounce spells and you probably just win anyways. You just
Exactly.
like, okay, your
'Cause then
land
you're
is
just
back
like-
in your hand.
Like,
Yeah.
cool. Now this Pass and Flames that is been sitting in my hand this whole game is not dead anymore.
Yeah.
So anyway, I grab that. He gives me those 2. I have a Brawl out already. I cast them. Off the Morphos, I draw a... No, sorry. I cast Serum Visions after he gives me the 2.
Yep.
I cast Serum Visions. I have one red floating after that. I draw a card. I draw a sleight of hand, and I scry Bolt to the top.
Yep.
My hand at this point is Morphos Pyretic, Grape Shot, land, Sleight of Hand.
Yep.
So I leave both on top. My opponent's at like 14 or 16. I don't remember which one. I think it was 16 because I had to get to Storm Count 7 so I could or Storm Count 6 so then I would get the 7th. Yeah. And so I leave Bolt. I go Morphos, draw the first Bolt, add red blue, cast Ritual to add 3 red.
Slide a hand for the second bolt.
Well, no, I play my land in case I needed, in case one of them was remand, because then I didn't need the extra bolt. I play my land, and then I play Sleight of Hand off the land, and then I grab the second. I see bolt like land, so I'm just like, we're taking the bolt. I cast bolt, grape shot, and he's just like, wait, are you going for the empty the Warren's plan? I'm like, no, way more fun than that. And he's like, wait, what? And I'm like, just wait.
Yeah, no, you're actually just dead. You're actually dead.
Yeah.
I have double grape shot. Yeah, like if you ever see a Storm player with double grape shot in their hand, it's probably time to scoop because like it's very hard to not kill somebody when you have double grape shot in hand.
Yeah.
You can almost do it without rituals after like turn like 5 or 6.
Yeah, if you have double grape shot remand, like game's over.
Oh yeah, well because like you cast like 1 ritual and then your storm count's like high enough to just go like grape shot, remand, grape shot,
and
grape shot,
also
grape
if
shot.
you have Baral out, you draw, discard.
Yeah.
So
The chance of you bricking on stuff is like so low.
Exactly. Like as long as you have grape shot, remand. Like if you have grape shot, remand.
Yep.
Game's actually just completely
Just
over. There's
actually over.
no way you can lose that.
Yep.
Unless your opponent has like double Flusterstorm in hand.
Yeah. Yep.
Which I did not see a single person play this weekend.
No, I think that's like the most like overrated card that was printed into Modern. Like Flusterstorm is just strictly a worse spell pierce in like 95% of decks.
Yeah.
Especially now that like Aria of Flame and Ultra Dementia are like the 2 cards you want to be countering with a 1 mana spell, and it misses both
of them. Yeah.
Very hard. Very hardly misses both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the sorceries.
Yeah. So I think Flusterstorm was like the most overrated card to get printed into like Modern because people are so hyped about it. 'Cause it's like it's such a big legacy card. But the problem is that like
people play Storm in Legacy.
Well,
People
it's
play
not
a
just for
bunch of
Storm.
decks.
Like it's
a
big
bunch
in
of decks. Yeah.
It's great in stuff like Delver or.
Well, yeah, when you can cast a bunch of spells and literally just cast it.
Well, like Delver
counter.
decks, it's nice because like, or against Delver decks too, because they're tending to cast a few spells on their turn. But like Delver, it's good because you're also like wastelaning your opponent. So even if it's just counter unless you pay 1, it's still fine as a 4 spike.
Right.
Although it's always going to be 2.
Exactly. The best thing I've seen with Flusterstorm is when I was playing Flusterstorm in Legacy. I cast Tendrils. My opponent goes Flusterstorm. I Flusterstorm his Flusterstorm. He Flusterstorms my Flusterstorm, and then I Flusterstorm his Flusterstorm again.
Yeah. Well, the other thing
Best stack ever.
The other thing that makes Flusterstorm much better than like any like spell pierce, let's say, in Legacy, is that every blue deck runs Force of Will, and Flusterstorm gets around Force of Will. Spell pierce doesn't.
Correct.
So that's like the main reason why Flusterstorm is better there. Like now we have Force of Negation, but the most I've seen that ever played is like as a 3 of in the 75, and it's like maybe a 2 of main and like blue white. So I just don't think there's nearly enough Force of Negation.
Yeah.
And granted, you can only cast it for free on your opponent's turn.
Yeah.
So like if it's like my turn and I'm casting a bunch of stuff and they Flusterstorm me or Spell Pierce me.
Yeah. You have to pay 3 mana.
It doesn't matter. Like, I have to pay 3. So it's not even like Flusterstorm is not even better there. It's only it just literally, there's no
Like-
difference between it.
Like, I would play it in Storm over Spell Pierce if there was no Hogak in the deck. No Hogak in,
Yeah.
like, because, like, it's just good in Storm when I'm able to Storm off and hold up Flusterstorm for any counter spell you play, and then I go Flusterstorm counter it unless you pay, what's my
12,
Storm count out?
yeah.
12? Yeah, counter it unless you pay 12. Like,
Yep.
like that's the time where it's good for Storm, but, like, Storm's not big in the format, so, like,
Yep.
why would anyone be playing Flusterstorm right now?
Exactly.
Like, the only time I think it's, like, worth playing currently is if you're playing Storm.
Yeah. Well, I think it's only worth it if Force of Negation gets big. Not even if Storm gets big. I
guess
think
that's
that
true, too.
I think that Force of Negation needs to be played as like a 3 or 4 of in order for Flusterstorm to be good.
Yeah. You know how many Force Negations I've had cast against me this weekend?
0.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's
No
just,
one cast one
like
against me.
probably like it's played as like a 2 of in Phoenix sideboard in some sideboards.
And none of them
and-
brought them in against me. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know
which-
why. Like, they probably should.
Yeah, because you cast all your spells in your turn typically.
Exactly.
And being able to like
Flip a thing in the ice and then hold up. Flip a thing in the ice, bring a Phoenix back, and then hold up Force. Seems pretty good to
Yeah.
me.
Well, another thing too is like if you like early game, like go to like grape shot like a thing in the ice. Let's say it's like just still at 0-4 and you cast a couple rituals and try to grape shot to kill it. You just like force the grape shot so it's exiled, so you can't even get it back with Past in Flames, or you counter the Past in Flames with it and exile Past in Flames, which is pretty brutal.
Yeah, that is 100% brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was definitely a lot of Phoenix decks that didn't have its sideboard though, so I think that's
Yeah.
probably part of the reason. I think that like the other thing that Phoenix is some Phoenix decks are sideboarding is Narset, which I think is like fantastic. in a Phoenix
Again,
deck,
did not have
Which-
a single Narset cast against
yeah,
me this weekend.
which is horrendous. Like you played against Phoenix 3 times this weekend?
I didn't play it day one at all.
Oh, you didn't play against it. I thought you played
No.
against it once. No. Okay. Then never mind.
Maybe I did. No, it would have been way grindier of a game than, and like I didn't really have many grindy games. Like it was
Yeah.
either like I win or lose. Like
Yeah.
it was, and like Phoenix, regardless of even if their hand's not good, like great against me, like it's still grindy.
Yeah. Oh, no, it
Um,
always will be.
And like I don't think I had a single grindy game all weekend.
I think it's funny,
other
people
than-
always say that Phoenix is like an aggro deck, but it's very much a mid-range deck. Like Phoenix, very
It can play both ways. I
It
think
can,
in
but like
certain
so can
times,
Jund.
it's, yeah, I
like
think it,
Jund can kill you on turn 4.
yeah,
Like they just curve out. Especially with Hex Drinker too. Hex Drinker is
Yeah.
insane. But like, I mean, Jund can do that too. But like, Jund is still a mid-range deck. I would say Phoenix is too. Like, yeah, sure, you can flip just flip 2 Phoenixes on turn 2 and like just kill them on like turn 4 or whatever. But it's like a pretty rare draw to have that happen, and then your opponent still has removal spells to deal with it. It's not like you're actually it's not something
Yeah.
you deal with.
yeah. It depends on how you play it, but I definitely think at its heart, it was meant to be like it started out as an aggro deck, and then they just like changed it a little bit at a time to make it more of a
Yeah.
mid-range deck, or that's just how people have been playing.
Yeah, you
it.
can see like how it's transformed with how people are getting away from like gut shots now,
Yeah,
and
right. Like I said,
like-
at its heart, it was meant to be an aggro deck at the start. Like,
Yeah.
playing gut shots, playing.
yeah. But then when people realize like, oh, this thing in the ice card is really good,
Yeah.
and I can't flip it on turn 2, so I'll play it turn 2 and then have a bunch of spells so I can guarantee flipping turn 3, and then it's like a 3-turn clock done.
Yep.
So that's like typically the line people are going to take is playing a thing in the ice early and then flipping it in order to flip your opponent's
Right.
board, and that's how you win.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a pretty good deck. It's very grindy games for me. Game 1, I'm slightly favored. Like I said, like if anything, I'm slightly favored by like 5 or 10%, and that's it. Game 2 and 3, it comes down to they're favored, but can I win on turn 3? And if I can't win on turn 3, they're probably winning 90% of the time. Yeah, because if they play like turn 2 bolt or turn 2 thing in the ice against me, and then I can untap and then play Baral into ritual Morphos, like I'm winning.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a very specific hand for you too, and that's also if you're on the play.
Right.
Like it's really hard for you to beat a turn 2 thing in the ice when Phoenix is on the play because their clock is normally just too quick.
Right. Which, considering I'm winning game 1 60% of the time, probably, maybe.
I think it's less than that.
Like I said, it's
I
between
think
like
it's 55-45 at the best for you.
Yeah, like I said, it's like between 50 and 60%.
Like whenever I've played Storm with Phoenix, I think I'm always favored in that matchup. Like I honestly do, because like the problem is
Right.
like you don't have nearly enough interaction for what I do. Like, you have interaction for, like, other stuff. But, like, Remand is just actually trash against my deck. Same
Yeah.
with Unsubstantiate's, like, okay.
Unsubstantiate's good
Because you can bounce a flip
thing.
thing in the ice,
Yeah.
which makes it okay. Or, like, if you're going to, like, smash by, like, a Kraken Drag or something later game. But, like, Remand, I think, is actually just really bad. Like, it's good exactly on turn 2. Like, Remand your Manamorphose and I can't recast it.
Yeah.
Then it's okay. But, like, I'm just going to cast it the next turn.
Exactly.
So, like unless you're going to kill me.
It buys time.
Yeah.
That's
like,
what Remand does in that matchup.
Yeah,
It buys,
but like
it
on
buys
turn,
me a turn.
on turn
maybe.
4, like remanding my Manamorphose is just bad. 'Cause it's just another spell. Like it's a free spell for me. Then.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't do much.
Yeah. It's okay. Like
Yeah. And does Phoenix
I
having
bored one out. Like
Phoenix has probably like 6 or 7 ways of killing like any of your reducers on like turn 3.
right. Yeah.
By turn 3, so like they have enough
I-
interaction where it's hard for you to just untap and kill on turn 3.
Right,
So,
so,
it
like-
ends up going to like turn 6 or 7, and that's when Phoenix really
right.
thrives.
So most times against them, I turn 4 by playing. I have to hit my 4 land drops, and then what I do is I play Baral, and I leave up 2 red sources, and I go ritual, and then they go Bullet, and I go response ritual. So then I'm tapped out.
Yep.
But I'm gonna get 6 mana out of it.
Yeah. But I mean, the problem is that there's. Yeah, you're gonna get 6 mana. The problem is that, like now you're down. You don't have a reducer.
Well,
There's a very good
so-
chance they have a clock on you, and then you have to be able to kill from there.
Yeah.
And like being able to kill from there without a reducer out, even if you have 6 mana,
It's
still
hard.
tough.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, you need like very specific
Yeah.
cards to do it.
You have to have a Manamorphose, and then you either have to have another reducer, or
Gifts into
gifts,
a
yeah.
bunch more mana and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. It's very specific, but it's also very doable because for the first 4 turns in that matchup, or first 3 turns, all you're doing is sculpting your hand. You're just casting cantrips and just sculpting your hand to where you can turn 4.
Yep.
By playing Brawl and or Electromancer and going Ritual. And that's basically what it comes down to in like 90% of matchups, I think.
Part of the problem
Like-
though too now is that like there's so many Phoenix decks that are doing like 3 surgicals main.
Oh yeah, that's why I play Noxious Revival and Surgical.
Yeah, but it makes your gifts piles really awkward at times.
Oh, yeah.
because like you can never gifts for like a Past in Flames or a like Grape Shot or an Empty, unless you have like multiple ways to interact in hand.
Yeah,
Like,
unless you
with,
have
like,
like Noxious Surgical in hand or something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
So like there is hands where like you can just like go grab like let's say I just need a Pass in Flames to win, or I just need a Grape Shot to win.
Yep.
Like I already have the Pass in Flames in hand.
Yep.
So I don't care about my graveyard at that point. I can go grab something like Surgical Grape Shot, Noxious, and then like an Empty as like the 4th card, because then like they have to put one of the Storm cards into my hand.
Sure.
Because if they don't, when they go to Surgical either one, I just put it back on top, or I Surgical it myself.
Yeah.
Like, so I guess like you just have to have answers. Like,
Yeah, I mean, but part of the problem is that like most of the time you want your Storm pile to be like to have rituals in it. Like in order to do that, you have to just have like just all rituals in hand, which doesn't always happen with Storm.
oh yeah, I mean, there's definitely times where I've had all rituals and nothing else, and then you're just like, wow, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then there's been times I've had like double gifts, like Past in Flames, Empty, and I'm just like, man, I just need some rituals.
Yeah, I wish I had a ritual. Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's the worst to just like sit there and just be like, I want the other ones.
Yep.
Or just trying to find a gifts against Druid combo.
Yep.
Can't find it. Like, I actually hated that round so much.
Yep.
Because you lost to Mono Red Phoenix and he was not that good of a player.
Yeah, he had
missed
lethal.
lethal.
He missed lethal like twice against me that I saw because he had lava darts in his graveyard. There's a time when he had like 2 lands out and I was literally tapped out in game 1. And he missed like 3 land drops, but he finally hit his 2nd land, and he had like two
Lava Dart in that yard.
Yeah, he had double lava dart in his yard, and he had 2
Swift Spears.
Swift Spears out and a Arclight Phoenix, and I was at like I don't know, like 12 or something like that,
Right.
or like 10, and both of his Swift Spears were like 5/6s with trample because he cast a crash through. And
It's gross.
so I was like, okay, like I'm gonna block. I think I had a Phoenix out. I think it was just a Phoenix I had out.
So you
So
just blocked
I blocked
one
one of the Swiss Spears.
Yeah.
and I was taking like 10, I think, and I was at like I must have been like 13 or 14. I think it was at 14. And
Oh
he's
yeah, because
like,
you had to.
and he's like, okay, yeah, sure, you go to 4, and I was like,
Oh yeah, so if you
all right,
just
I got a
cast
4.
like sack
Like,
mountain,
if you just
lava dart,
sacked
sack
2
mountain,
mountains
lava
and
dart,
lava dart to me, I would have taken like
exactly
18 that turn. No, because they had 2 prowess triggers with trample, so he would have just bolted me twice with the 2 lava darts. Because he would have gotten 2 prowess triggers. So, like, it was just, like, really bad play by him, and I don't know what he was doing by not casting them.
Wait, no, it would have still been 4. Because you have prowess trigger on the 1. Oh, wait, that's what I remember.
They both have trample.
Yeah, that's
They were already big enough to trample
yeah,
over.
yeah.
So it was literally just bolting me with 2 lava darts, and he chose not to, put me to 4 and gave me very, very, very slim outs at 4 life.
Yeah, I mean, you still have outs, though.
I had an Arya out, I think, so I think that I had, like, some outs if I drew, like, 4 Morphos on the top.
I've done it. I've 100% done that before. Like, just play Morphos, you draw Morphos, and you go, play Morphos, draw Morphos, play Morphos, draw Morphos, play Morphos, draw a land, and you're like, that's not really what I wanted there.
No. I've had draws with Phoenix before where I'm like, well, I guess I'll start with casting Morphos. And I draw Morphos. Then I'm like, okay, I'll Morphos again. Draw another Morphos. And I'm like, this is interesting. Morphos again. I'm like, Faithful Sitting. I'm like, sick. Faithful Sitting, double Phoenix. And then just like kill them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there's definitely lots of fun plays in both those decks. They play very similarly, in the sense that we're casting a lot of the same spells.
Yep.
But we're casting them in a very different sequence.
Yep, that's for sure.
Yeah. Lots of like times this weekend that I like sort of misplayed, but at the same time, like I didn't. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like. So like you kept telling me about the time like I didn't cast Morphos for double blue. So
no, so you didn't make your mana first, which I still think is wrong, because you didn't have enough to actually kill next turn without the Morphos that you would need it in hand. So I think that you needed to just cast your Pyretics out of your hand first, and then you could filter for double blue with Morphos, because it would have given you enough if you'd drawn gifts. Because your entire thing was like that you were saying is like, no, I could have killed the next turn. But you needed to draw gifts the next turn anyways, and that what you're telling me then is that you were saying that if gifts was exactly the top card of your library after you cast all of your Morphos, and you didn't draw another cantrip off it, then like after that, then you
okay,
so that one card there just for that to matter.
So here's like my whole thing with it. So here's what I was doing. I was trying to get to gifts, right?
Yeah.
To kill the next turn in hopes that like the one card he had, or he was empty-handed.
But gifts would have killed that turn, right?
If I had the extra blue, but at the time, I didn't know what I was going to draw off Morphos.
Yeah.
So I only had 1 red left at the end of end of it. And
because you didn't cast either of the Pyretics.
Correct. So I didn't cast the Pyretics first because all I needed to... So basically what I was trying to do... So I had empty the Warrens in hand.
Yeah.
I had to get to 8 dudes. Mm-hmm. Or 6 dudes, sorry. To just have enough blockers to not die if he didn't get Altar.
Yeah.
So I was putting him on the fact that he's empty-handed. He has to top deck Altar. 2 are in his yard already. So, like, there's 2 left in his deck. He's probably got 40-something... Or probably 35 to 45 cards left in his deck.
Didn't he also have... didn't he have like kind of power on board where he could have killed you across like 2 turns with it though? Still,
he could have killed me across 2 turns. So basically, what I was trying to do is I'm going to cast Morphos, basically as a draw effect and just to add to Storm. And I drew, I think, like a Serum Visions or something. Yeah. Or it was a Sleight of Hand or Serum Visions.
It wasn't a Serum Visions because you weren't able to scry or maybe you scry both bottom because you weren't able to scry the gifts on top.
Right. Whatever it was, I didn't find a gifts off of it on that one. So I ended up using one of the... So I then cast a ritual.
No, you cast Morphos next. That was my problem is that you cast Morphos twice in a row rather than making mana because you couldn't filter for double blue.
Well, so I had a Fiery Islet out, untapped.
Yeah.
And I hadn't played a land for turn, so I could have drawn land. I was like, if I draw land at any of this point, like I have my basic mountain out, so every land I draw is going to be a blue source. Mm-hmm. So I used the mountain or used the red to make a red and a blue again. Mm-hmm. And so I had 2 blue at the time, and then
you only had 1 blue though because you had.
So so I cast the first cantrip
off of the blue float.
off the double because I had double blue to start.
No, you didn't. You didn't. I was standing
Did I have,
right over
did I
your
have
shoulder.
blue? So did I?
You
Did I
made-
make
you
double
made-
red?
You made red blue. You
I made red blue with the first
you
one.
made red blue the first one, and then you cast like sleight of hand off of it, and then you
Well,
drew like out of the ritual.
No,
or
no, because I
something.
played double Morphos.
Yeah.
Did I make red off one of the Morphos? Because
No, no,
otherwise I
no.
would
So,
have
so
two
you
blue.
cast You cast Morphos, then you cast a draw spell like
Yeah,
a sleight
so-
of hand, and then you cast Morphos after that. Again to make red and a blue.
So essentially, I made 2 blue throughout the turn.
Yeah. So you had one blue floating there.
I had 3 blue total throughout the turn because I had the Fire Islet, and then
Whatever that means. I mean, you had like 3 other blue red lands. So like it doesn't.
no, I was tapped out. I was tapped out minus the Fire Islet at that
Because you
point
cast Baral.
because I cast Baral to start
Morphos.
into Morphos, and I had a Fire Islet untapped. So I made red blue. I used the red to make red blue. So I had, and then I had cast the Serum Vision with Sleight of Hand, and then because I needed the red still, so at that point I cast Ritual to pay a red to crack the Fire Islet.
You paid the blue for the Fire Islet.
Did I?
That was the problem.
Before that?
Yeah, you paid the
Okay.
blue for the Fire Islet, and off the Fire Islet, you drew the gifts and had no way to filter for blue.
Yeah.
And that was the 100% the mistake, because like you needed the ritual to make red that you could pay with a red, in order to
Yeah.
draw. And then when you drew the gifts, you kill them that turn.
Okay,
because you
so-
get gifts for Grape Shot and whatever. Or,
Like
the
at the
normal
time
pile.
staring at the board, all I was thinking of is I need to get to 6 or
And then you
8 to
died
8
next
storm.
turn very promptly.
Right, he top decked the altar.
Yeah.
Like he just top decked the altar and put it out,
Yep.
and I scooped. Like I was just like, man, like you have no cards in hand. Like
That
you
was
have
still
1 out.
100% a punt, but sure.
Like, it was a punt, but in the same time, like if I had no rituals in hand,
But the thing is, like, okay, so my thing is, if you didn't draw gifts there, and let's say you didn't even draw it next turn, you were still dead. Like, your out was drawing gifts that turn, or it being exactly the top card of your library your next
right?
turn.
So if I didn't draw gifts there,
I mean, I think it's too, you also still had a ritual in order to cast the empty in your hand, so you're going to have to ritual anyways, so you might as well have cast it first. So that was my issue.
So I would have had to cast double ritual to cast it, and then let's say
No,
I did, yeah,
because you would have had you just needed 3 red, you would have reduced her out. So you would have only had to cast your 1 ritual that turn in order to have enough mana for you to crack Fiery Islet and cast your.
oh yeah, because I had the reducer.
Your
out.
empty. So
like
that's my thing is like there was no reason for you to pay the blue for it.
I guess, like I get what you're saying, like.
That you played wrong. That's all I'm
Yes,
saying. Yeah.
I get it. I get it. The whole thing was like I was sitting there like staring at his board, going, "Please don't draw. Please don't draw altar. I win this next turn by not casting double ritual because I have the extra ritual to
But
filter
you
the next
could
turn
have killed that turn instead.
potentially
100%. Because you drew the gifts.
because I drew the gifts. Yes. If I didn't draw the gifts, I was super dead.
Yeah, if you didn't draw gifts the next turn, you were super dead anyways. That's what I'm saying is like you were
Well,
playing.
no.
to like,
Over the fact of 2 turns, I was not dead.
Yeah, you had a Hogak out already.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, he was like whacking you for like 12 that next turn.
Right.
And Hogak gets trample.
I needed to block like 3 of his creatures and then block Hogak for 1.
So, and you're taking like 7 then, and then he just recasts this shit from the graveyard.
And then he
it hits you.
passes turn, and I go tap everything sideways and kill him. If he went in
he
for
was at
the
like 17 or something or 14,
fine.
but he wasn't dead then from just your goblins.
let's see, I had 1, 2, 3, 4. If I didn't draw gifts, I
You
would
had like 12 goblins out, and
Well,
you
so
would have
yeah,
had to
'cause
like sack like 5 of them as blockers.
yeah.
Which is why I do like just going on like I'm gonna make this like the plan like my point is that you still couldn't have killed him next turn unless you drew gifts, and for some reason you were playing that gifts as if gifts were like only the card you would draw the next turn and not that turn. But like gifts would just kill him that turn.
Well, because I only had 2 in the deck.
Yeah, but like my point is like you weren't giving yourself an out of drawing at that turn. You were
Yeah.
only giving yourself an out of I bricked on it this turn, and then your next draw step was going to be gifts.
Yeah,
which
pretty
means
much.
it had to be exactly 1 spot in your library instead of
Yeah.
the top 6 cards of your library.
Yeah,
Yeah,
basically.
so that was just bad.
I mean, it didn't end up mattering because I ended up killing him pretty hard the next game.
Yeah, I mean it mattered for that
Like,
game though.
It mattered
But-
for that
but that's-
game.
yeah.
But yes, like that game, and like the funny part was he was like talking like mad smack before the game. It's like, dude, I played against Storm 4 times yesterday. Like And I didn't lose a single game to them. And then I just, like, killed them on turn 3, game 1.
Yeah.
And he's like, maybe I just played against bad Storm players.
That's probably
And I'm like, that might be it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I've played this matchup a lot, and I've never lost to it.
Yeah.
At that point,
Ogaka's actually a pretty good matchup just because they have no
unless they mainboard 2 ley lanes and
That's
hit
true.
it on turn 0 all
That's
3
true.
games.
Yep.
Like, because then, like, I was at table 1 at that point.
Oh my god, we're at an hour already.
Yeah, we're going to
Holy
wrap
shit.
it up. But, like, I was
Okay.
at table 1 at that point, and then I dropped
Yeah.
to table 2 after winning to play a guy who played Storm, and he goes, ley line before the game, and I was, like, about to call a judge over and ask for
Yeah.
a deck check. Because I was like, can you, like, check to make sure he actually plays ley lines mainboard? Because,
Yeah.
like, but then I'm like, nah, like, it makes sense. Like, he
Yeah.
probably, like, plays it. And, like,
He was on a 2-2 split.
right, yeah. I figured that was the case. And also, like, he's, I forget his name. Something Mullen is his last name. I forget his first name, though.
Collins Mullen?
No.
No, I don't know.
I knew, like, when he sat down, I recognized him because he's, like,
know.
top 8'd with, like, at opens and, like, GPs with Storm before. So, like, I knew I
I don't
recognized him. David Mullen, I think, is his
I have
name.
no idea.
I recognized him from the Storm community.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only reason why I knew
Sure.
him. And, like, I was just like, I know this guy, but, like, I don't know you, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I saw him, and I'm like, I've seen you, but I don't know where. And then, like, when
Yeah.
he was making his zombie tokens, he was using Caleb Shearer Storm tokens as his zombies. And I'm like, it clicked in my head, like, I'm
Yeah.
like, that's how I
You
know
play
you.
Storm.
I'm like, this is going to be brutal because you hit a ley line. And so, like, at that point, I'm just like, well, we're going to try to go for it.
Yep.
Turn 2, slam a brawl,
Yep.
pass. And he's like, whoa, wasn't
Storm.
expecting that.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I guess the main board ley line was good against more than one deck today.
Yep.
And I'm like, yeah,
That's
unfortunately.
what everyone was saying. Like, they're like, oh, this isn't meant for you. And it's like, yeah, but it killed my deck.
Yep. Killed me 3 times.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here. Hopefully something in Hogak gets banned in the next few weeks.
It's going to be Bridge
Right.
next Monday.
But I'm hoping for it because this is getting real brutal for me on Storm. It's getting real brutal. I'm going to have to start main decking for Aria of Flames and not actually playing Storm, but still playing Storm.
Don't tell people my tech.